Hello, Amy Carrier's Classroom. Ken Course here for our first official lesson coming in today. And of course, I picked the big topic because it's probably the question I get asked the most, which is really figuring out how do you get to the top of the heap when it comes to being a successful speaker, a successful expert. How does all of this stuff actually work for you? And so my name's Ken Course. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm a brand new instructor here in Amy Carrier's Classroom. I'm going to introduce myself much more today, but more than anything, I want you to introduce yourself. So if you're out there watching this and I haven't met you yet and I don't know what you do or what you're trying to learn from this, make sure that you give me lots and lots of feedback. Both during this session, I'm going to have my chat open so that each of you have the opportunity to leave comments, ask questions. I know today's lesson for a lot of you, like a lot of instructors would start and they would put this lesson, at the end of a curriculum. They would say, all right, this is the end goal for all of us out there that want to be speakers, that want to be experts. And so this is the last thing that I would teach. But I know for some of you, depending on where you are, or depending on how you've thought about the business, this is the dream. The dream is for you to be able to be successful as a speaker, as an expert, as someone that's known, that teaches a certain amount of content or that does a certain type of thing. And so that's the goal for each one of you out there. Julia's here. Welcome. Thank you. She's looking forward to my first class here. I do encourage you all as well. Please like, share, comment. Let me know what you want. Let me know what you want to hear in future sessions of this. But again, I'm going to be going back and forth and delivering some content, checking in with the chat. Today, I actually even prepared a presentation. So look at me go and how prepared I am for today's lesson. So I'm going to pull that up real quick as we're getting started, but introduce yourself. Let me know who you are. Let me know where you're from. I love that because there's so many people. This is a global classroom. I know that a lot of you out there, this is brand new for a lot of you. And so if you haven't participated too, let me know on that front as well. I know Julia's there and I appreciate that Julia is always so diligently paying attention to what we're doing. But again, this is the dream for a lot of people. And so let's break into it for today's session. And again, throughout this entire time, if you have any questions, if there's something you want me to stop and you said, oh man, I want you to cover that again, or I want to understand it better. And I'm also going to say, as I clarify some of the points in today's lesson, and as I'm going through the process, there are many of these that will actually be future lessons. There will be things that we break off from what we're teaching here, and that I know we could teach an entire course on, or we could spend an entire few weeks discussing things like authority and discussing things like what makes some experts different than others. But again, for all of you, today I'm starting with the dream because I know it's been my dream. I've worked with companies like this over many, many years. I've been fortunate enough to work with at least 10 different speaking companies that have made 7 figures or over $1 million United States, many of which that are making over 8 figures, so over $10 million United States. And kind of everywhere in between. And between each one of them, there were 3 key elements, 3 must-have elements that have to be in place. And this is actually the foundation of my business and what I do in all of my teachings that really help me understand what is the direction anyone who wants to be known for their experience, for their expertise, what are all the things that they have to have in place. So let's talk about that. And first and foremost, let me introduce myself because I know that you hear a lot of people who talk about being an expert. You hear a lot of people who say they know the industry or who, have some experience in that kind of thing. But I've been doing this in a way that many other speakers and experts haven't been doing. Myself, I've been known by many people as a digital marketing expert. Even though I'm not fully focusing on digital marketing in this course, I'll be talking about it a lot. But my teams, my business, and my agency throughout many different projects have generated over $50 million in revenue online. That's 50 million United States dollars. So that is in fields anywhere from small business training to direct service and nonprofit. I've done 7 figures in nonprofit for agencies there, personal development workshops, executive coaching, information technology, and technology in general. I should put digital marketing on here, but it's not yet. Real estate, financial markets, stationery and art supplies, another industry that's kind of strange that I've worked in. But I've been doing digital marketing focused on the expert industry, focused on the speaking industry, and even products for many, many years in my career. So I know pretty much anything in this game, or can at least speak to it with some experience from the things that I've done. And of course, just a few of the people that I've worked with, and if you're overseas, you may not have heard any of these names. They might not mean anything to you. That's totally okay. But over here in the United States, some of the names I've been fortunate enough to work with directly or share the stage with, where I was speaking, they were speaking at the same events, are names like Les Brown, Kevin Harrington, who's one of the original sharks on Shark Tank, known as Dragon's Den, most around the world for entrepreneurs. Mike Koenig's very, very famous for inventing Traffic Geyser and many, many other digital marketing platforms. Justin Livingston, I still haven't met his great partner yet, Callan Rush. I've shared the stage with him. Mark Victor Hansen, very, very famous author. Laurel Langmeyer, Rick Frischman, Rich German, Ryan Dice, founder of Digital Marketer. I've gone through all of his certifications. I love his work, and I've also been fortunate enough to share a stage with him. So I've been around a lot of different experts in the industry. I've been around a lot of people who their living is in training, it's in education, it's in turning their mouth into money. And so I just wanted people to understand, when I talk about this, and as Julia mentioned on her class earlier, which I highly recommend all of you be a part of, that I've been doing this and been part of this industry for a long time, and I feel very fortunate again to be a part of Amy Carrier's classroom to do this. So, but what have you done for me lately, bud? I know it's nice to put out all your creds, and it's nice to talk about all the things you're doing, and really that's part of why I want to be a part of Amy Carrier's classroom, because I want to give back in any way I can, which is why I said throughout this classroom, if you have questions, if you have things you want, it's really about what I can do for you today, not who I've been on stages with, not what experts I've worked with, not what campaigns I've run in the past. All that's nice, but it isn't what's important. It's really about what I can do for you today, and really about what I can do in general. One other thing, and I'm doing my best, because I know for a lot of you, English may not be your first language. I know that I talk really fast. In fact, Julia always jokes with me, make sure to give myself time to breathe, which I don't do very often, but I understand that I talk fast. The good news is there will always be replays of these courses that you can get in the classroom, or and there's some stuff coming in the future where you'll be able to get even more content from Amy Carrier's classroom. So I know I talk fast. If I'm talking too fast, please in the chat, don't hesitate to say, Ken, slow down. I have a question. I need some clarification. Revisit that point. Help me understand. And I know from a content perspective, when I'm training you or when I'm working with you, I don't really slow down. So I always give the warning, when I'm training and teaching, I'm going to go through a lot of content. Every time you see my face, you should expect to get some value. You should expect to understand that I'm going to be giving you something that you can use either right away or in a short period of time in your business. And for a lot of you, my hope from today is that you get some focus on, if you want to become known for what you do, if you want to be seen as a go-to expert in your field, as someone that people recognize and someone that people tune into, you want to have your own version of the classroom or something of that nature, you want to have those types of things. If you want that, that's all well and good, and this is telling you, how do you get there? What is it going to look like once you've arrived, which is what we're talking about today. Understanding that is a bit different in general than, where should you start? Because where should you start is what we're going to be covering throughout our time together in this classroom. And again, checking in, feel free at any time. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know what you want. Let me know how I can help you. And so I'm ready to dig in. If you're out there and you're ready to dig in, let me know. we're going to dig in anyway, even if you're not ready, but that's just how it works. And so if you're not ready, again, I talk fast. It's just how it works, and that's how it's going to be. As I mentioned, my specialty in particular, what I love to do, it's really my passion, kind of goes beyond my specialty, is I love to work with high-level expert in speaking businesses. So this means they become known for what they do. They become known sometimes for who they are. Some of these brands and some of these experts actually become celebrities. There are people that are known in their field, and they sometimes become celebrity experts for what they do. Now, the interesting thing, and I'm going to talk about this a lot, is just because they're the go-to known expert in their field doesn't necessarily mean that they know every single thing about it. Some of these experts are not on the cutting edge of their field. Some of them are training fundamentals. They're training basics in a way that most people think, like, I've got to be the most innovative, or I've got to be the most special, or I've got to understand or know something that other people don't know. And that isn't always necessarily true. In fact, I've seen many people, and I used to be one of these speakers and experts when I started, who had the best training content. They had the best courses. They had the best programs, but they didn't have the personality. They didn't have the connection. They didn't have the authority and some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. So that's what makes the difference. And really, I want you, regardless of where you are in the world, regardless of what your situation is now, regardless of how you think of yourself, whether you think of yourself as an expert or not, I want you to understand that it is possible, regardless of where you are, to become known as an expert, to become a speaker, to become someone that's the go-to for whatever it is you do. And that can be digital marketing, that can be education, that can be training, that can be cryptocurrency. I mean, look at this classroom and look at the type of people that present in here. And so, what is an expert business? Let's really start at the beginning and say, what does that mean? It means you get paid for what you know. It means you get paid for who you are. It means that you start to develop a reputation as someone that has a specific focus or a specific type of training or a specific way of connecting that other people don't have. But really, in many ways, it's getting paid for what comes out of your mouth. That's the best way to think of it. So if you're someone that you're not currently out there talking, or you're not currently out there speaking, or you're not really known for that type of thing, that's what becoming an expert business means. And the good news is, with how platforms have grown, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Weibo, all these chats all around the world, all these different social networks have given people the ability to become known as experts in a way that just wasn't possible even a few years ago. Most of us are walking around these days with portable production studios in our pockets. Like my cell phone right now can film high quality video. It can film, with decent lighting, it will look the same as if I filmed it on an expensive camera. And again, I make money when people are listening to me train, they're listening to me speak. That is an expert business. You become known for that. And so, how is it created? And I talked about this a little bit in my preview class, which I know was more of a test. It wasn't so much of an official class as this one is. But really, you can become known not just for teaching what you know. In fact, the most common way that most of us think, hey, he becomes a really well-known expert, is just what you know. And in fact, that's only a small piece of becoming a successful expert or becoming successful in this business. What you know is great, and obviously you want to have a specific focus or a specific topic area, but just being the go-to expert for what you know doesn't necessarily mean you're going to become known in your industry, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help you grow the business. It's only a small section of what it is that you should be doing if you want to be successful as a speaker and an expert. Then beyond that, you got to start introducing who you know. So that's another great way over time, is to build, as you build and develop your network, which I know is talked about a ton by other teachers here in the classroom. Who you know becomes a key part of your expert field. So notice I had that slide where I talked about many of the big experts that I've worked with over the years. It's just as much in this field as it is about who you know, as it is about what you know. Hi, Chuck. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Then you got to also share how you know what you know. So another great way of saying that is you become a great storyteller. And those stories can be stories about things that you've done in the past. It can be stories about things you've experienced. It can be stories about things you've seen when working with clients or things your clients have done. Or it could be examples, because a lot of times, especially when you're getting started, you may be creating examples of things. And so you're creating stories, but they're not necessarily specific to something that's happened. And as you start to accrue experience and you start to build experience over time, a lot of what you're doing when you're being a successful speaker or a successful expert is how you know what you know. How did you get here? Because, and here's a prime example. I'm not someone that ever even really sought to become known as a speaker and expert. In fact, I was a performer. You kind of can't see it on camera right now, but I have like a nice little keyboard right here. I was a musician and I was a performer, and that's what I was interested in doing. And because I was comfortable talking to people and speaking and doing those types of things, I wasn't afraid to get up and tell a story, or I wasn't afraid to teach somebody something that I knew, even if I wasn't necessarily thinking of myself as the go-to expert in that thing. So it was becoming a good storyteller and connecting with other people in the audience that really helped me become known even before I was talking about what I know. In fact, it was how I was and how I knew what I knew in those relationships that really built me up first. Then, over time, your expert business has to make it clear why your audience needs to know you, why they want to connect with you. And that's not always information. Again, a big mistake most people make is they always go, it's the information. That if I didn't talk about marketing, people wouldn't be here. Or if I didn't talk about the expert business, people wouldn't be here. That's not true. And in fact, many of the biggest speakers in the world really become masters because they're great storytellers and they are constantly making it clear to people why their audience needs to know them. And then from there, you've got to develop the three things we talk about today. So I'm going to talk about specifics of these are the three things that every single one of these 7 or 8 figure speaking businesses in the United States have in common. And depending on what your goal is, these are things I guarantee you will need to have. And I'm going to explain exactly why. And they're the fundamentals of a speaker and an expert business. But that's really how it's created. You teach what you know, you introduce who you know, you share how you know what you know, so you become a great storyteller. You make it clear why people need to know you, and then you develop these 3 things. So if you're excited to know these 3 things, I definitely want to know in the chat, because this is a big deal. And you may already know these things, you just didn't realize or connect the dots. So if you really want to know, please let me know. Say, yes, I'm ready in the chat. Let me know. And I'm going to do it anyway, even if you don't say yes, I know. So let's move on. Golden tip. You're going to see these a lot when I'm training because I want to make sure that you focus on certain things. My golden tips are really things I want you to be thinking about that if you take nothing else away, if these are the most important things I want you to take notes on, or they're the thing that I want to make sure that you totally understand because I want these to be ingrained in your brain. If you're like me, a lot of times I hang notes on my wall, or I hang notes on my computer monitor, or I put things in front of me, and a lot of these golden tips that I'll be covering during these trainings and during my classes really are going to be focused on that idea. So golden tip number 1. And this is an important distinction that a lot of people need to make. If you've been paid for it, you're an expert. Somebody paid you for something that you know how to do. Now, here's the fun part, too. A lot of times people pay to make you an expert. So you'll be paid in a job, and they will train you how to do a certain job, and then they're paying you for your professional knowledge. So your expertise, you can be paid to develop expertise, but generally, if you've been paid for it, and especially if you're becoming known for it, even in a job, and that can be any skill. You become known as a teacher. You become known as a digital marketer. You become known as a web designer. You become known as a cryptocurrency expert. You become known as a person that develops curriculum for kids. You become known as somebody that opens an international classroom. It doesn't matter. Once you've been paid for it, you become an expert, which means you can teach others. Hey, Rashid, good to see you out there. So please make a note of this. It's a golden tip to say the definition of expert for most people is way, way bigger than it should be. In that, if you've been paid for it, you're an expert. And guess what? Another golden tip right off the bat. So again, write these down, keep them handy. You don't have to be a master to be an expert. So here's the issue that most people have. They say, well, I can't start speaking, or I can't start an expert business, or I can't develop a program until I'm a master. And there's this cliche you'll hear that what makes you a master in life is doing something for 10,000 hours. So you don't become a master of something until you've spent 10,000 hours doing it. So when you've done 10,000 hours of speaking, suddenly you're now a master. You've moved to this level. There are very few things in life that you will actually master. And for some people, it's only going to be one. For really diligent people, it might be 2 or 3 throughout the course of life. But there's a big difference between mastery and expertise. To speak, you don't have to be a master. To speak, you have to be an expert. So going back to that other golden tip, it's really about, have you been paid to do this? Has someone seen the value in what you do enough to go, yes, I'm going to pay you to do this project. I'm going to pay you to design my website. I'm going to pay you to do this specific thing. I'm going to pay you to train my team. So it really is a big distinction. And most people make the ceiling. They say, oh, well, I can't become a speaker. I can't be known for that thing unless I'm the top in my field. There are plenty of people who have developed massive, massive bank accounts and portfolios just by their network. Just by interviewing people who know things, just by bringing people together, just by understanding that it isn't necessarily about being the go-to for everything. Sometimes you can become known as the expert at just being a connector. So you may just be the connector, and that's what you do. But you don't have to be a master to be an expert, and you don't have to be a master to become known for what you do. Really, really important distinction for a lot of people to keep in mind, because I think that's the thing that keeps most people from doing the 3 things I'm going to talk about today. It's what keeps most people from thinking they're worth it, or it's what keeps most people from going like, I should be a speaker, or I should be an expert, or I'm good enough to get out and actually train people on this type of thing. There's a reason a lot of people don't do it, and that's why. So here's a secret. Shh, you'll see these all the time. So no one's ever going to come along to you someday. It's just not going to happen and go, all right, now you're the expert. Now you're the speaker. Now you're the great coach. Now you're a great consultant. No one ever makes that decision for you. And this is another thing that keeps you from doing the 3 things we're going to talk about today, because you're waiting around for someone else to go, yes, Rashid, you're the expert. Yes, Julia, you're the greatest speaker. Yes, who else is out there? Chuck, you're the great coach. No one's ever going to do that. I have bad news for you, and I'm sorry. Some people might sell you a program, and they might say, okay, now you're certified to do what you do. But the reality is, in life, doesn't matter what you do, no one's ever going to come along and say, you've graduated. Most of us are used to that because we went to school and we went to university, and we're used to the university or the college experience where we graduate and now we're an expert. But no one's ever going to do that in this field. The only way that any of these things are going to happen, or that you're going to do any of these things, is you're going to decide you want to do it. You're going to decide, I'm an expert. You're going to decide, I've been paid for it. You're going to decide, I want to teach something to someone else, and that's what I want to do. And you're going to decide. Sadly, no one else is ever going to come along and tell you, all right, it's going to happen for you. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. I wish there was a graduation into being an expert or being a speaker, but there isn't. So you have to decide. So as you're watching me and you're going through classes with me, I want you to understand, like, no one's going to do this. You're going to watch these things and you're going to do them, or you're not going to do them. My hope is you're going to do them, because I know from experience these things will make you successful. But that's a secret. So, all right, let's move on and let's get into these 3 things, because they are the 3 must-have things. They're the 3 things that must be in place. And so I'm going to put them, these don't necessarily have to happen in any particular order, but as I was putting them down on these slides and I was thinking about them, I really wanted to structure it in maybe what order should you do them first. You get to decide the order you do them in. They're just, if you're going to hit that 7 or 8 figure mark of being very successful in doing these things, you got to have these 3 things. They're what you have to do. So must have number 1, you've got to have a signature product or program. So what does signature means. It means the thing you are known for. And I'm going to break that down even more, but a signature product or program. So what does that mean exactly? Let's be really specific about it. So your signature product or your signature program is the core teaching, and I'm going to use the teaching example. It is the core teaching or the core thing that you expect everyone that works with you to do. So it's the thing that everyone does. It is your core thing. So if you think about Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola has lots of other products, but if you are going to interact with Coca-Cola, they want you to buy a Coke. Like, that's what they want you to do. It is the core signature thing that they do. So it is the training or content that creates transformation for your people. So since we're talking about the speaking and expert business, I know I'm going to be talking a lot about training and products in that sense. I'm happy to answer questions if you have a physical product or something like that. But since I'm talking about the expert business, I'm going to be focused on that. I just want to explain it when we're talking about signature. So it is the training or content, it's the teaching that creates transformation for your people or for your audience. That's what makes it your signature thing. Everyone that comes through the door should go through this product or program when they're working with you. That's just the way it is. It is the signature thing that you do. Then it's in alignment with your brand and your business goals. And let me move my big head out of the way so that you can actually see what I'm talking about there. So it is in alignment with your brand and your business goals. So a lot of times it might be what your business is named after. It might be like the core thing that is part of what you're doing. So your signature product or program is the core thing. Everybody goes through it at some point. So I know Julia's out there, so I'll pick on her because I see her name. So her core thing that she expects people to do is to go through her Monetize Your Passion Academy. Like, that's the core thing that she does. So you've got to have a signature product or program. That is the process piece of what you do. So that's key piece number one. Let's move on to key piece number two. What is key piece number two to scale to this business? You must have a signature live event. So first you got to have a signature product or program. Then you've got to have a signature live event. So again, when I talk about signature, here's what I mean. This part, your live event part, it is an experience that's connecting your audience with you and each other. Like, a lot of times with live events, what I'll see, especially for speakers that are creating their own events or they're hosting networking activities or they're doing different things in what they do, is they forget the fact that a live event isn't necessarily where you should be trying to cram in all your training. Now, it's possible that once they've gone through your signature experience or the thing that you've done, that then you might have another event or you might do your training or teaching in person. That's okay. But typically you don't want to start with the core training first because you want to have an experience. And this experience is going to do a few different things. And I do mention it may or may not contain pieces of your signature product or program. It might contain pieces of your program, but it might not have anything to do with it. You might go like step one, step two. This is also where people will commit to work with you long term. So typically at your event, to be honest, it's where your sales are going to happen. It's where people are going to get to know you. They're going to get to know your community. They're going to understand the experience that you want to create. But live events, especially successful live events, aren't necessarily about the what. And the what, by the what, I mean the content. They're not necessarily about what you're training, what you're talking about, how it works. They're about creating that experience. Your goal is create experiences, create connection so that people want to work with you long term or want to be around you long term. So there's a difference between your live event or your signature products or programs or your signature trainings or the things that you're doing. They're just different. Anybody that's at the highest level of this industry does live events. Whether they do them themselves or they do them with other people, they do live events. It's just the way it is. Even if they do virtual live events, they're doing live events because live events, for the most part, are where the sales happen. They're where people agree to do your signature product or program. They're where people understand what it is that you do. They're where people get a feel for you and see if they're a match with what you're doing or how you're feeling. So it is experiential. And a mistake, again, that I commonly see for new experts extroverts or people who are like, I want to host my own events, is they forget that the experience is really what matters. They forget the part about, hey, if I don't connect to you, if I don't get to know you, then nothing else really matters at that point. It's the experience that matters far, far more than just the content. Now, that doesn't mean you should have no content. It just means the experience is what matters in your signature live event. So that's number 2. Let's move on to number 3, and this is one that's, I think, is the most surprising to a lot of people, but it's just something that it really needs to be there, and it really needs to happen. Number 3 is you must have a book. A book! So something that someone can pick up. I don't even have, what's weird is my books are all on the shelf behind me. I don't have a book to grab and be like, all right, you got to have a book. So yes, golden tip, and I put this up here. This is the 3rd one, and I think this is the last one in this presentation today. That's right, books still really, really matter, and I want to explain why that is and why books are so important. Now again, your book may be a digital book, and that's totally okay, but I highly recommend, even if you do a digital book, there are tools that you can use from a digital book at this point that you can print a few of them, or that you'll have something that you can hold in your hand, because books still really matter, and I want to explain why that is. So once you've got your book, once you have a book that's done, here's what happens. First of all, you get permanent credibility in your area of expertise. It doesn't matter if you write a book on Facebook and then Facebook changes everything a year from now. It doesn't matter. A book is a way of planting your flag and going, all right, I declare that I know I am an expert, or I really know this particular area. Gives you permanent credibility in what you're doing in that area. It creates endless possibilities for publicity, for interviews, for partnerships, for public relationships, for speaking, and much, much more. It puts you ahead of about 95% of the speaking and training market, because most people just never do the work to get a book done, and it supports your signature product in your live event. But most of all, the thing about a book, and this is the really big thing about a book, most people just won't do the work on it, and most people don't realize just how important it is to the outside world. To people who don't know you, although online learning and online programs and trainings are great, they just don't have the same level of credibility when you meet somebody who doesn't know you. If you sit down with somebody and you hand them a book and you go, this is my book on this topic, generally people are going to go, wow, you wrote a book, or you finished a book. There's just a difference in the perception, and that goes from everything from sitting at a table with someone and telling them about what you do, all the way through to the media, or all the way through to television or radio. When you have a book, you're breaking open opportunities that most people never get to touch. Most people at the university level or the traditional educational level, all they care about is, do you have books and are you giving them away? Like, are you giving them away to that audience? It makes a huge difference. Julia says, oh, Alex said he'll relog in later and watch this replay. Great, thank you, Alex. And if you haven't checked out Alex's courses on cryptocurrency and all the stuff he does, make sure you do. Julia says, books are great. I've heard them called your big business card. I always carry copies of my 2 books with me when I go to events. Amazing. Most people think that books aren't as important anymore. They don't realize the perception, because a book is a perception play. I also don't think the book is the first thing that most people should be doing. A lot of people end up having a big goal of writing a book, and so they'll try to put that first before they start thinking about their live event, or before they start thinking about products or programs. Yes, a book is really important, but a lot of times a book is the thing that's going to take you from being, a little successful, moderately successful, to the thing that's going to make you much more known and much more successful, because of the work that goes into launching a book, or the work that goes into getting that book out in front of people and marketing that book. But books are still huge, because again, that permanent credibility piece, I can't say that enough. I know many of the most successful speakers, and you'll notice when I listed that list of successful speakers, almost every single one of them has a book that is known around the world, like that's known in their industry. They have a book. Books are great entry points for people. They're great ways for people to discover you, and they're things that people share. They're things that people will say, if they have your book and they enjoy the book that you have written, they'll share it with other people. It's something that, again, is an easy way for you to get a lot of time and a lot of attention from people. As great as video is, as great as digital products are, as great as live events are, those are still things that are a little bit temporary compared to a book. So you have to think of your book as your permanent line in the sand. It's just so important to all of the things that you do. And as mentioned, nobody throws away a book. If you hand somebody a book, they're never going to go, oh, I don't want this, I'm chuck it in the trash. They may not read it. It might sit on your bookshelf, and that's why I have my bookshelf behind me, but it doesn't matter. A book is a big thing. So why is this combination still so important? You would think after all these years it would have changed. You would think, oh, well, you can just be a Facebook expert. You can just be those types of things. And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying that it is not possible to only do one of these three things. I'm just saying what my observation is about all the people that reach the most go-to, well-known, universal pieces in their industry. If you think about the masters in the speaking and expert industry, people like Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich and things like that, the most known people, obviously they utilize this combination of things. So why is it still so important? Because here's what it does for you, and I'm going to break down each of these things. What do the combination of these three things, outside of just sales and outside of just money, get you? Well, they get you these 6 things, and I'm going to break them down, but I feel like they get you these 6 things in this order. So they get you credibility. So credibility in the field shows they know you've put in the work. People understand. I'm going to move my head again. So it gets you a type of credibility, especially a book, that you're not going to get anywhere else, because they know that you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, you've done the development. It gets you credibility. Publicity. And this is a huge thing. Most people who are speakers and experts don't have any publicity. Like 95% of the industry has no publicity at all. People don't know who they are. They can't get interviewed. They can't get on radio. They can't get on television. They're not getting on other people's shows because they don't have the book that kind of pushes them past the ceiling. Authority. And as I said, just going through the effort of putting a book together or even partnering in a book gets you a type of authority. And then that authority gets reinforced by your videos, by your programs, by your live events, by all of those different types of things. But it gets you an authority that you wouldn't otherwise receive. Experience. So I talked about in the live event, you're creating an experience for people. You're creating connection for people. That's critical. Process. So the process sits behind. Really, you have to have a process as well to write a book. And so that's why I recommended the order I did, and I'll talk about it again. But that process feeds into your book, but it really feeds into your signature product or program, and it really feeds into your signature event. It becomes obvious that you have a process. And then transformation. So at the end of the day, when you have this combination of 3 things, even if somebody doesn't go through all 3 things, but most people will, it creates transformation. It creates a change in someone's life so that they don't go back to the way that they were before. And so let's break down each one of these things. So credibility. And this is the statement that you'll hear with it a lot. Wow, if you wrote a book about it, you must be an expert. It doesn't matter if you don't know a thing about it. It doesn't matter if you just researched it, partnered with other people, pulled together other information. If you wrote a whole book about it, you must be an expert. And in fact, I just was reading an interview the other day. There is a very popular, if you're not familiar with this term, there's something called infomercials or commercials here in the United States. And they are basically paid advertisements that you see on television. And normally there'll be a pitch person that's talking about their product. And it will normally be about 15 to 30 minutes long of a person doing an advertisement for their product. Well, one of the most famous infomercials here in the United States is an infomercial that has to do with ways for businesses to get government grants. So they go through a process where they're teaching people how to apply to the United States government to get United States grants. And what's even funnier about it is the guy that did it wears this suit. I'll have to find it for a future one that's covered in question marks. It's just the silliest thing that you would see that this guy does it. Well, turns out he didn't know anything about government grants, the person that wrote this book. All he did was assemble the book after doing some research, pull those things together, pull it together into a book, and then do this infomercial where he did this advertisement and he did this thing, despite not really knowing a ton about it, made over 8 figures, probably, well into the 8 figures, selling that book on the infomercial of assembled information that wasn't even his primary area of expertise, and he became a go-to expert in his field. He gets interviewed all the time for these things, and as he was developing his expertise and leveraging what he put in his book. So he wasn't necessarily the person that was the go-to authority. I'm sure there was someone else in the world that knew more about how to get funding from the government here in the United States, but just the fact that he was willing to do that research and pull that book together made his business an 8-figure business and what he was doing. So, publicity. Everybody wants to work with and learn from an expert. And they would rather learn from an expert, even if that person isn't the go-to, that has the appearance of being the go-to. These 3 things do a lot for your reputation. They make you look more reputable, as I said, with credibility. So having that signature product or program, having that signature live event, and having a book just makes you look more credible, and it opens doors to you that other people will not get the doors open to. So sending a resume or sending a one sheet to a job is great. Sending your book with a resume or sending your book to get a speaking presentation just looks a whole lot different than the idea of saying, all right, well, go look at my website or go look at my digital course. If somebody gets a book, they're going to go, wow, this person, it just creates something that people go, yeah, I get it. It creates something different. Authority. So you want to stand out amongst other experts in your field. And that's done by authority, not necessarily by having the best content, not necessarily by having the best training, not necessarily by being the smartest person, which is what most of us think. Authority is created by having your ducks in a row, by having your process pieces in place. And so by having these 3 things, all of a sudden you stand out among other experts in your field. When other people just have a course, but you have a book and a course, or other people just have their Facebook group, but you have an event, a Facebook group, or a course, and your book, it does something to make you stand out in a way that other people don't. It just gives you a type of authority that other people don't. And this is why so many people still rely on that combination of things. Experience. So your live event and your programs are both going to do that. They're going to create experiences for other people. It's about creating memories and breakthroughs for other people. That's really important. And so it's really critical to have those experiential pieces of what you do. And it's always better to do it in person. Love online. It is great. It's such a great connective tool. Doesn't mean you can't connect online. But again, to really get to that dream goal, that dream place of being at a 7-figure or an 8-figure level doing these types of things, you have to focus on creating experiences. It's just the way that it is. Those memories and breakthroughs and experiences that you create during live events are the things that people talk about for years. And if Julia is still out there watching this thing, she understands that that really is how it works. You remember things that happened at someone's live event, for years and years. Some of the most transformational moments of my life happened at live events. I can remember specific times when the speaker was talking about a specific thing or when I was talking to somebody else at the event that I then associate with that person forever. I associate that life-changing thing with my mentor that was at that event or with the person that was speaking at that event. You cannot buy the type of connection, credibility, experience anywhere else but in person with another person. You just can't get it. And so live events are really critical for that. And then process. So you create a journey for your audience. There's a process. And typically, although you don't have to create all these things at the same time, generally they're going to go from the book to the signature product or program to the live event. Now that can happen in a different order depending on how you structure your business. And we can talk a ton about structure and what you should be focused on and how you should be focused on it and all those things. But having that shows that there's a process behind what you do and there's a journey to go through. So typically that journey is going to go book to product or program to live event, but it can go other way. It can go the opposite, book to live event to program as well. That's how it works. Julia says, that's right. I've also met some friends for life at live events and some of them have changed my life. And you associate that with the expert. Even though, and that's the thing, even though the expert or the speaker wasn't the person out in the crowd introducing you to those friends, even though the expert or the speaker wasn't the person that was like, hey, you two, go meet each other, you just associate it with that person. I'm part of a community and I associate my connections from that community with that person. I go, oh yeah, that's Julia's person. I was at Julia's event and I connected with Julia and it was great to be part of Julia's event. Even though Julia had nothing to do with it, she just put the room together and was the person that stood on the stage and said, hey, everyone should meet everyone and I'm going to teach you some stuff. And then you go, oh, well, Julia's amazing. It's just amazing how that works, because that's what happens at live events. It's what happens when you create that experience and when you connect people in that way. It gives you a process and it just does it, even if your event's not that great. Now, of course, I would want all of you to have great live events, and we're going to talk about that many times as we go through this course, what makes a great live event. But there's process in that. You create a journey for your audience. And then finally, the transformational piece. A book can transform people, a signature product or program can transform people, and a live event can transform people. Which, what I mean by transforming is once they've worked with you, they'll just never be the same. Things will be really different. So they'll make more money. They'll be happier in their life. They'll have better relationships. They'll be more connected. They'll understand something that's been frustrating them for a long time. They'll be able to solve problems that they couldn't solve before. Something's going to happen throughout the course of your process and your journey that's going to create that transformation. So obviously the goal for all of us at that level, successful speakers, successful experts, we understand that it's about the transformation in the end. Once they've worked with you, they're just never going to be the same. And so again, it normally takes about 5 years to find the right combination. And so one of the things that I notice, especially about people that are really at the highest level of this industry, is that once they've got a good combination, they just do that combination again and again. So I didn't say, one thing you'll notice I didn't say, was that you only need to have one book or one signature product or program or one live event. In fact, some of the most successful speakers in the world, like a great example would be someone like Brendon Burchard, is that Brendon Burchard, who was around the industry for many, many years before he became as famous and popular as he was, Brendon Burchard became somebody that over time, he developed one successful branch of this that brought him up to a very successful level. And then he developed another line and another line and another line in what he was doing. So makes it incredible for how that can be done. So just because I said these 3 key elements are really critical doesn't necessarily mean you only do them once. Once you've got the ones that work, it really makes a huge deal at this point. It's funny, Julia said she couldn't post this on the live stream. His name is Matthew Lesko. That's exactly who I was talking about. I was trying not to mention names, but it's true. It was Matthew Lesko that I was talking about. But keep in mind, this is a journey, and this is why we're going to have this as part of the class, because it's a journey to figure out what the live event would look like or to get people in the live event. It's a journey to develop your product or program. I've worked with people for a year to develop that signature product or program. It's going to take time to write your book. And then once your book is out, it's going to take time to go through that process. So what I've seen typically is this is the minimum. Now, there are some people who do it really well and they skyrocket and they focus on the business. And you can cut this down to 2 or 3 years if you do it well. But if you're at the start of your journey and you're like, how do I get to this dream space where I'm really successful in what I'm doing here? This is the way you do it. It normally is going to take about 5 years to get successful and to hit that level. So for those of you at the very beginning, you're at day 1. And that's exactly the greatest time to be here in Amy Carrier's classroom, to be exposed to all the ideas and all the things that different people teach here in what we're doing. And so those are the must-haves. I want to review them real quick. So signature product or program, signature live event, and a book. And so that's your map if you want to be successful in what you're doing. In the course of all the things you develop and all the things that you try and all the things that you do, those 3 things have to happen. I don't know a successful speaker or expert, and Julia, I would ask you, if you're still watching this out there, if you know that person. But if you do, or if you know any speaker or expert who doesn't really do that, I don't. Everybody eventually gets there at this point, and it's really critical to where they get those 3 things. It's just how it works. So those are critical elements. I'm grateful that I could share these things. I wanted to share that map with you because when I do future lessons, when we're talking about how do you create a great program, or how do you develop a good talk, or how do you start promoting yourself and talking about yourself? How do you talk about the areas of expertise that are the most important to you? That's how they get there. And as Julia said, they all use the same map to get there. This is where we're all headed if you want to be successful in this space. So I hope this was a truly valuable lesson for all of you today. I hope it gives you a new way of thinking about this. If you haven't thought about yourself as an expert or someone that could teach or train something, I might say write a book, and you go, oh, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, let alone write a book. It might feel like it's really far away, but that's part of the goal of this classroom. It's part of the goal of what we do here, is to speed these things up so that you understand. There are many ways. I know people who can write a book in a weekend, and you might go, oh, how is that possible? You could take, there are so many ways to get these things done so quickly, whether it's products, programs, do as we're doing here in Amy Carrier's classroom and starting your classroom, and get through these processes that we're going to teach. It will make a huge difference. But you got to have those three things if you want to hit the eight-figure level. When or if it changes, I will let you know. If this a year from now is not the case, and all of a sudden you don't need a book or you don't need that credibility piece, you better believe I'm going to come out and tell you, because I know how much work a lot of those things are. And for a lot of you, I understand that you might not see yourself as doing that right now, or it might feel overwhelming or intimidating for how you work or what you're doing or what level you're at now. And I understand why that is at this point. But those are the three things that you must have. They're the things that all these types of businesses that are really successful have in common. And so keep that in mind. Save your golden tips from today. If you didn't keep those, I want you to keep an eye on those. Save your golden tips. And I hope that this was super helpful to you. I'm going to be back every week here, Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, New York time, here in the United States. There will be much, much, much more to come. And my name is Ken Korse. I'm excited to be here with all of you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week.